I'm Lisa. Glad to be back again with you today for our yoga class that will be a yin yoga class. It will be an hour in length. You'll need several props, one of which is a block or something that you can use as a block, something firm. You'll need also a strap and or a bolster. You can also use a pillow, like a firm pillow from your couch or a cushion. Kind of be inventive with what you have around your house if you don't have any of these exact props. Our yin yoga class today will be timed poses where I'll be timing with my watch or with my clock off to the side for approximately 3 minutes per pose. This helps to kind of even out imbalances between the two sides of the body. And when we're in a yin yoga practice, it allows us to not only lengthen and stretch and release our muscles, but more importantly, to release and stretch the connective tissues. So by that I mean tendons, ligaments, and all importantly, fascia. So let's get started with our first pose of the day, Shavasana. I want you to go ahead and lay down and get comfortable. And as you lay down, go ahead, roll your shoulders down and away from your neck. Put a little bit of space between your legs. Let your arms be out at your sides. We're going to begin with a little bit of breathing, some pranayama. Close the eyes. Just start to notice your breath. Begin to breathe in and out through the nose by closing the mouth. And settle into a comfortable breath rhythm. Today we'll be focusing on three-part breath, or kind of starting our breath low in the belly. This is with our inhale, our first part of our breath. And then as we continue inhaling, we move up kind of into the ribs and around the chest a little bit more, the sternum. And then we finish our inhale up higher in the upper chest and almost up to feels like the collarbones. When we do this though, you want to make sure that you're not shrugging up as you try and fill in with that last bit of breath. Keep the shoulders released down. Then you'll take a momentary pause and we will exhale from those three parts, starting with exhaling from up high, the middle of the body, and then finishing lower, pushing out that last bit of breath through the diaphragm, low down. So here we go. When you're ready, start to inhale. And if it helps you to place the hands on the belly so you can feel the rise, go ahead and do that. You're going to continue up in this second area, really feeling a spread across the ribs more. And then kind of squeeze in that last bit of air up by the shoulders. Pausing. And then start to exhale from the collarbones down towards the heart and the side ribs, and finishing exhaling out through the belly. Once again, begin your inhale, focusing on the lower part, moving up to the middle area, and then finishing with a full inhale up towards the collarbones. Holding your breath just for a moment. When you feel you need to begin to exhale, start to release from high, middle, and then low down. One more time. Inhale from low, middle, and then up high. Exhale high, middle, and then the lowest part. Kind of even pushing out the remnants of your exhale from low in the ribs. Now we're going to continue on with this, but I want you to add more kind of natural flow to your breath. So we're not kind of chopping or segmenting it into these three areas so much, but let it kind of move and flow more naturally, but still start with the breath low in the belly. And then as you rise and you finish with your inhale, you're still pausing and holding at the top. But then I want you to almost kind of use a little bit more of a force as you exhale and flow out with an Ujjayi breath. So maybe the chin is slightly turned down. You should be able to hear your breath as it moves and you're pushing it through your throat and down with the exhale. Once again, continue inhaling up. And then when you're ready, exhaling. Try to lengthen out your exhale to make it a little bit longer than your inhale. Do 3 more rounds of this. And then after the end of your next exhale, hug your knees into your chest and rock a little bit side to side. From here on your next exhale, you'll roll to your left, releasing the knees to your left. And then open up the right arm out to the right and turn your head to the right. I'm going to set my timer here. I want you to feel free to place a block between your knees if you need to make this more comfortable for the lowest part of your back. You can also modify the placement of your right arm. If you have an upper, like say upper back or shoulder injury, you can also even modify the turn of your head. So rather than turning to the right, maybe it feels better to keep your gaze going up to the ceiling, or if you need to, even off to the left a little bit. I always like to say that these spinal twists should feel relaxing and releasing. They should feel more comfortable. And as we're kind of moving into this yin yoga practice, it's so important to kind of tune into your body and the sensations it's sending to you. So always kind of assess what you think you may need to help you, one, be more comfortable in the pose, and two, to kind of play your edge, to know whether you need to go maybe a touch deeper, or maybe you might need to back off a little bit from a pose if it's starting to feel too uncomfortable. We never want to go to a place of pain, and your breath can be a good indicator of how you're managing the pose. So try and maintain a slow, steady, rhythmic breath throughout the practice. And if you find that's hard to do, then maybe you might need to just modify or release just a touch out of a pose till we get towards the end. I'll also be giving you some countdowns to let you know how many seconds we may have left in a particular pose. Some of the poses may be a little bit shorter than 3 minutes. Some of our poses might be a little bit longer than 3 minutes. Always feel free to close the eyes throughout this yin yoga practice. From here, take your gaze back to center. Roll onto your back. You can stay still. We're letting the spinal muscles and the vertebrae of the spine kind of return to their normal or neutral position, releasing from the twist. If you want, you can also rock a little bit side to side if that feels good. On your next exhale, this time you're going to release over to your right. When the feet come down, you'll open up your left arm and take your head to the left. Once again, always feel free to modify, to assess where you might need to make changes. Sometimes placing that block or even a pillow between the knees helps to align the hips and the lowest part of your spine, your sacroiliac joint, into more of a neutral position. It can feel a lot more comfortable. Once again, you're settling into the breath. Take notice of around your waist. If you're hanging on to any tension or tightness there, use your inhale and your exhale to find release. Let the belly expand out. As you take that inhale, lengthening the waist, and then exhale and try and let go of any bit of tension. In our yin practice, our exhales are really important. There are moments where if we decide to go deeper, doing that on an exhale is your most opportune time to kind of go into a deeper position of a pose. At the same time, our exhales can be used to help us let go, actively let go of tension or tightness in a particular area of the body. You're in your last 30 seconds of this pose. From here, take your head back to center. Roll onto your spine, staying still or rocking side to side, whichever one feels the best to you. And then you'll release the feet back down to the mat. This is where we're going to take our strap and place it into our right foot, extending your right leg out straight in front of you, lengthening the arms up the strap to help pull the shoulders away from the neck. Flex those right toes, and then on your next exhale, start to raise the right leg up. This is going to kind of be a two-part stretch. We're starting first with our hamstring opener. We'll also be opening up the calves. And then we'll move into a half happy baby, kind of going into the hips a little bit more, a little bit of the inner thighs. So as you're just beginning this stretch, a couple of things. Make sure you're not over gripping the strap. Try and find some release where you can. Make sure that this leg that's straight isn't shaking or quivering. If it is, that may mean you may need to start a little bit lower. You want to let the muscles fully release. Okay? From here, extend your left leg straight out in front of you. That will take you a little bit deeper in the pose. We want to avoid putting a lot of bend in our knee because that takes away the stretch from where we're trying to place it, which is in the back of the thigh. The only time I would really kind of suggest putting a bend in this knee is if you have an active hamstring injury and we don't want to make it worse, don't want to delay healing. That would be a reason for keeping bend in the knee and also not raising the leg up very high. Otherwise, if you don't have any injuries, you're going for a straighter leg. Breath is flowing. We're going to go a little bit deeper. Start to flex the right toes downward even more. And now from here, I want you to focus in on the right hip that's touching the mat. I want you to push firmly down into the mat. That will take you deeper into the stretch also. You may feel it activate the hamstrings more. And as you're firmly pushing down into the mat with this right side of the hip, You're also trying to push up towards the sky with that right heel. So it's just activating a little bit more pull in two different directions for this leg, kind of a pulling apart of the joint. So what we're going to do next is move into our half happy baby for this last minute. You can keep the strap on your foot or you may want to remove it, but I want you to really work on having good form with this leg. So what we'll do is start to bend the right knee. You're going to draw the right knee and the right thigh out towards the edge of your ribs. We want to just put about maybe a 90-degree bend in this right knee, and you can pull down with the strap. Now, notice a couple things. My foot is still flexed. My heel is pointed up to the sky. We want to avoid having that heel downwards in any way. We want to open up. If it's easy to kind of pull down and your hand's already pretty much at the foot, you can release the strap and use your hand to pull down with that. Kind of create a vice to pull that right foot down. It takes you deeper in the pose. Note too that if that's too deep, maybe you're using your strap and having the leg lifted up more. You're in your last about 15 seconds of this pose. So we're going for a total of 4 minutes between these two stretches that we did for this right leg. And from here, release the hand, release the strap, maybe roll the right ankle around and extend the right leg straight out in front of you. Release the hands. I always like to roll the wrists and the fingers just from kind of the grip. If you found you were gripping harder, it releases the muscles in the hands and the forearms. All right, let's move to our other side. So bend your knees, strap goes into the left foot, extend that left leg straight out in front of you, flexing that left foot, lengthening the left leg, reaching, pulling the shoulders away from your neck. Exhale, start to raise your left leg up. Go to a comfortable starting position where you're just feeling a nice, easy stretch. The leg isn't shaking or quivering. And you can maintain your breath. Try and relax the face. Put some space between your teeth. And make sure you're not over gripping the strap with your hands. From here, let's go a little bit deeper. You're going to extend the right leg straight out in front of you. Once again, wherever you are in your position, if you feel you can go deeper, you'll do that on an exhale. So you'll exhale, and towards the end of your exhale, maybe raise the leg up a little higher. All right, let's go deeper again. From where you are, you're just flexing the left toes downwards towards your face. We're extending more of the stretch into the calf also. Think about, once again, focusing on your left hip, pushing firmly down into the mat with that left side. You'll feel a deepening in the hamstring. And then at the same time, focus on pushing the left heel upwards even more. We're kind of pulling the bones apart. And then returning your focus back down into the left hip. So you're alternating your focus here from the hip to the heel, back down to the hip and up to the heel, keeping this kind of consistent pulling apart of the leg. Check into your breath. Try and use Ujjayi whenever possible. If you kind of lose focus of the breath, just return your focus to it for a moment. Continue on. You'll find that you might need to do this throughout the practice, kind of retuning into the breath. All right, from here we're moving into our half happy baby. So what I'd like for you to do is start to bend the left knee. We're drawing the left knee down and the left thigh down towards the outer ribs on that left side. Strap goes into your left hand. That left foot is flexed and you're pulling down to whatever degree you can. Keeping the knee bent about 90 degrees if you can. Try not to have the knee bent too deeply here. We really want to open up the bottom of the foot towards the ceiling. So if pulling down is uncomfortable, maybe you're putting less bend in the knee, but your aim is to keep that foot, the heel pointed up and the toes pointed more in the direction towards your head. All right, and then you're just gently pulling down as the body allows, either with the hand on the foot or the strap on the foot. You're almost there. And now release the strap, release the hand from the foot. You can set your strap aside. Roll that left ankle around. Take a moment, extend the legs apart, reach back with the hands, maybe roll the hands and the wrists. And now let's make our way up. We're going to roll onto our side, move into a couple of cat-cows. So from here, hands are beneath your shoulders, knees are coming down from your hips. Draw the shoulders back, slightly bend the elbows. You'll inhale through your nose, opening the chest, broadening the collarbones, and taking the gaze upwards. Exhale, round, chin to your chest, belly pulls in. Inhale, forward and up to your cow. Exhale, round to your cat. One more time, inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. Move back into a table. From here, we're going to move into Sphinx. So we're opening up for our chest more deeply. I'm going to show you with some props, different variations of our Sphinx. We'll be here for 3 minutes. So first kind of modification for our Sphinx is taking and placing your bolster or your pillow underneath your hips. This is kind of a great variation if you have any lower back strain. This is a really high kind of firm bolster. But you can always find a couple blankets and you're going for straighter legs. So this is a little bit too high for me, but it kind of lengthens out your back if you have any issues. Another thing you can do with the bolster is take it more forward and it kind of gives you support for your chest. You can it lifts the chest up, and it's kind of easy to wedge your elbows back against the bolster for more support also. When we move into our Sphinx, we want to keep our shoulders and our elbows relatively in alignment, okay? As we're here also, another prop or variation you can use is if you want support for your head, you can either look forward or you can release your head down on a block. So that will give you a nice bit of support also. You may not want to use any props, in which case, move my bolster out of the way so you can see, in which case you're just elbows and palms on the mat. Engage the belly a little bit. Legs are pointed back straight. Lift the chest, draw the shoulders back. And you're kind of pushing into the mat with the elbows to help keep tall and lifted. As we're here for our 3-minute time period, you may notice a start of a little bit of ache anywhere. That's where the props come in handy. You may notice a little bit of rounding or sinking. Try to avoid having the shoulders move up towards the neck. We want to keep opening up. And if the belly, or excuse me, if your back gets a little sore towards the end, you can always modify, sometimes by just drawing the shoulders, or excuse me, the elbows a little bit more forward. That will lower you down. That can make a difference too, to make it a little bit more comfortable. Just these slight modifications can get you through to the end. I'll give you a countdown. And for your last minute, I'll also give you an option to go deeper if you'd like to. Once again, feel free to close the eyes, kind of sink into the feelings of the body. Notice where you might need to be making your adjustments, drawing the shoulders back, lifting the head and the neck up and away from the shoulders, engaging the belly more to make more space for the lower back. All right, so we're in our last minute. If you need to make any variations so that the pose is more comfortable, you can use props. If you feel like you want to go deeper, you can push up onto straighter arms, keep the shoulders drawn back. This will take you deeper also. So this is seal or a variation of your Sphinx. You may want to stay here for a little bit. It might feel good. You can go deeper by lifting up and back even more. Or if you want, if that feels uncomfortable, maybe stay there for a while and return back down to your Sphinx. This is once again where you're playing your edge. You're assessing where you need to go in this pose, what the body is okay with. You're in your last 15 seconds of this pose. All right, release down, let go. Sometimes forehead to the mat feels good. I'm going to kind of release from this in a moment, but I just want to let the body kind of move into a more comfortable, neutral position before we kind of take it the other direction with our child's pose. All right, go ahead, slowly push back up. And as you push back up, you'll move back into your table. Take the knees a little bit wider apart, toes come together. You're pushing into a child's pose. Your bottom is going towards your heels. You're reaching forward with your hands. Your forehead comes to the mat. Once again, props can make this pose more comfortable. This is a pose that also should feel good at releasing. You may notice though, by the end of your 3 minutes, it might feel a little bit kind of more sore for the lower back or knees or hips if you have something going on. So props can help. Forehead can always rest on your block. If you have knee issues, you can always keep your bottom raised up. It doesn't have to come all the way down to your heels. You can also take a blanket, a pillow, or a bolster to place between or kind of behind the back of the knees, and that will give you support also to keep you more lifted. So this is a great time with this pose to move into Ujjayi breath. The face is down at the mat. You can really hear your breath, especially your exhales with the mouth closed. We're going to move into our next phase of this pose. We're going to stretch the shoulders, kind of the side of the back, side of the shoulders, and get a nice side stretch. So I want you to pick up your head, walk your hands over to your right as far as you can comfortably go. I like to say, rest that left side of your head onto your left arm, pushes it down. Draw that right hand in closer towards your knee, but on the floor. Push into the earth with that right hand while still relaxing the head down. You may feel a greater pull along the left side of the body. Extend your right arm straight, lift your head off, walk back to center. Stay here for a moment. And then on your next exhale, walk your arms over to your left. You're going to rest that right side of your head onto your right arm. Left hand comes next to the left knee. Push away from the earth with that left hand. It's as though you're almost doing like a one-handed push-up. Feel a nice pull all along that right side. Lift the head up, walk the arms back to center. Draw your hands in, push back up, and bring the knees back closer together. From here, I'd like for you to go ahead and fold over the edges, the sides of your mat. So it's kind of like this. We're going to move into frog pose. This is a deeper opener for the inner thighs, our adductor muscles. What you'll do, you can also have your block nearby. You may or may not want to use it. You'll take your knees out to the padded edges of your mat. Okay, you're just going as comfortably wide as you can. And then open your feet out to the sides so that when you look left and right, you can easily see your foot on each side. Release down onto the elbows. Slightly draw the belly in. We don't want to get too much curvature in our back. Your block can be in front of you. Draw the shoulders away from the neck. This is where you really want to be mindful. You're playing your edge. You're slowly pushing your bottom back in the direction towards the feet until you get to that place where you feel quite quickly some pull. Try not to go beyond that edge. Don't let this get too painful. It's about, yes, maybe feeling some discomfort, but not sharp pain. If ever this pose gets to feel too extreme, you're just gently guiding your bottom forward. Sometimes just coming forward an inch can make all the difference in the world. And at the same time, if ever you feel you can go deeper, pushing back maybe just half an inch can make all the difference in the world. You're not going back far and you can feel it again. So I'm going to just show as you're here from a side view. We don't want to overarch the back. We want to keep the belly kind of firm. And if it helps, once again, you're finding your edge and then holding there, but keep your breath moving. If it feels better, you can always rest your forehead on your block. Sometimes that little bit of support for the head can feel really good in this pose. You're halfway through the pose. Notice if you can go a touch deeper or if you need to just maybe move forward a tad. Are you hanging on to any tension in the face? Are you biting down hard with the teeth? Try to soften and release. Use your breath here to kind of sink in to a deeper, quieter place as you're in this pose. You have 15 more seconds. And now it's very important here to release out of this pose very carefully and slowly, so as not to aggravate these stretched muscles. I like to slowly come forward until I'm laying on my belly, and then I very gently bring my legs back to center. Another option for getting out of this pose is rising back up and then feeding one knee in a little bit at a time till you're back up. And then I want you to feel free to kind of move however you'd like to get release. When you're ready, you'll open up your mat. We're going to take it in the other direction now. We're going to move into our pigeon pose for today. If pigeon isn't comfortable, feel free to do an alternative, such as a thread the needle. Okay? Remember, this is our thread the needle. This can be a more comfortable pose for the knee. Otherwise, for our pigeon, we're moving into a down dog. Just briefly stretching out a little bit. And then from here, we're going to start with our right side. So I'd like for you to bend your right knee, draw that right knee forward to the outside edge of your mat on this right side behind the right hand. You'll flex the toes. Notice the higher you raise this right foot up towards the top of the mat, the deeper you'll go into the pose, the more you'll feel it in the hip. If you're feeling it a lot, I sometimes suggest bringing the heel down closer to your groin. That can make the pose more comfortable. All right, so we can always use props by taking a block, a blanket, or a pillow to wedge under that right hip if you find there's a lot of airspace between the hip and the mat. You can also use your bolster, and the bolster would rest underneath the top of your left thigh and on kind of your right hip here. So this is another option to kind of stabilize too if this feels good. All right, so choose however you'd like to set up. And then as you're here, we're starting the pose. And before we even lower down, I want to kind of get us in a nice alignment, and just making these little adjustments will take you quite a bit deeper. So as you're upright here, I want you to kind of just start to twist to your right. Can you see your left foot? If you can't see all of your left foot, it may be over to the edge. Draw it back in a little bit more to the center of your mat. Then, as you come back to center, open the chest. Feel your body weight. Are you leaning too much to the left or the right? Try to equalize. And then at the same time, this next movement will take us deeper. I want you to think about drawing your right hip back, your left hip forward. From here, you can exhale. Look forward as you lower down. It will help you lower down with a little bit of a flatter back. Then you can release down. Maybe you want to start by resting your forehead on a block at any level you need, or you can take and make a fist or two. Rest your forehead on your fists. If you feel you can go deeper at any time, maybe you're releasing the forehead down to the mat. Establish your breath once you're in your position. Try and draw the shoulders away from your neck. Soften the face. Put space between the teeth. Feel the body. Are you leaning too much to one side? Try and level off. And then when you're ready, try and pull the right hip back a little bit more. Find length in the right side of your waist. Feel the breath move so that the belly is pushing out towards that bent right leg. Exhale, release and let go around the belly, the chest, and the back. Think about releasing down the length of this left leg. Are you hanging on to tension around the left thigh or the knee area? Exhale and let that go. When you're ready, start to move into the right hip, kind of visualizing tightness. Use your exhale to push the tightness out of the body. All right, slowly pick up your head. Take a nice big cleansing inhale and exhale, rising onto straight arms. You can roll onto that right hip and around. Slowly release the right leg out in front of you. Wait till it feels as though the blood's kind of fully back into that leg, and then you can kind of roll, shake the legs however you'd like. Good. From here, we're going to move to our other side. So make your way back to your down dog. Pulse out the feet a little bit. And then when you're ready, you'll bend your left knee. Take that left knee forward to the outside left edge of your mat, behind the left hand. You're either keeping the heel down low towards the groin or up higher. Find the comfortable position for you, flexing the left toes. Using any props that you would like, wedging something underneath the left hip to give you a little bit of support maybe. And then equalizing both sides of the body. Your body weight should be even between left side and right. Twist to your left. Can you see the right foot? Come back to center. Try and draw the left hip back, the right hip forward a little bit. Open your chest. Exhale, extend, and release forward and down. You may notice too that the left and right sides of the body feel different. You may not go to the same level. So if you need to start up higher, let the breath get established, softening the face, letting the body adjust, and then when you can, go deeper. This might be your easier side, so it may be easier to take the forehead down to the mat more quickly. Everyone's a little bit different here, and usually the hips, the two sides of the hips are never exactly the same. All right, so once again, assess the breath, soften your face, draw the shoulders away from the neck so you're not into a tight kind of defensive gripping position. We're focusing on relaxing, releasing, being patient to let our body slowly open up. Making little adjustments, maybe finding more length in the left side of your waist by pulling that left hip back more. Soften and release the belly and the chest. Let the breath move freely. Release down the right side, that straight leg. Are you hanging on to tightness anywhere along the length of the straight leg? When you feel you're ready, you're focusing in on that left hip, taking in an inhale, exhale, and let go. Find a little place around that left hip to let go. Maybe the outermost surface, your glutes. Notice as you let go of a little bit of gripping or tension, you find some release, some more comfort. Use your next several exhales to continue to move deeper in towards that left hip to release and let go. You're in your last 30 seconds of this pose. Slowly start to pick the head up. Taking in a big cleansing inhale and exhale, moving to straight arms, and maybe rolling onto that left hip, slowly taking the left leg back out in front of you, waiting for the blood to fully move down the length of that left leg. And then when it does, shaking and rolling. From here, we're going to move into our last poses using our block. So use your block or whatever other kind of apparatus you have in your house. We're going to be doing a block-assisted shoulder stand and a nice block-assisted opener for our hip flexors. All right, so we're going to start by moving into our block-assisted bridge. Feet are about hip distance on the mat. If it helps, take your block, place it between your knees for a moment. Just kind of line up the feet. Draw the shoulders away from your neck, then pull your block out, engage your belly, drawing down your kind of stretching out the lower back. You'll feel it push into the mat. Now push into the mat with the feet. Slowly lift up to an easy bridge. You'll take your block and slide it underneath you, underneath the sacrum. That's the fused portion of your spine. Try to avoid going up towards the waist. When we move the block up to our lower back, it creates a lot of pressure on the lower back. It shouldn't feel very comfortable either. So we want to slide the block down. Find a nice balance. As you're here, you're just breathing and releasing. If you feel like you can go to another level at any time, maybe you're lifting up, rotating that block up, and releasing back down. Know that with the poses we're doing here, you can always go deeper by turning the block up another level to one of our 3 levels. or lowering down if it ever gets too uncomfortable. Now, as you're in some of these poses, try not to let the knees open out to the sides. We want to keep our knees directed straight forward. We want to keep a little bit of arch in the back of our neck. So let the gaze be going up. Try not to have the chin pushed into the chest too much. From here, we're going to move into our block-assisted hip flexor opener. So once again, imagine you have a block between your knees. You're going to just start to extend your legs straight out in front of you. Heels are on the mat. Belly is pulled in some. That makes more space for the lower back. As you're here, a couple of things. If this is uncomfortable, sometimes a nice little change that will help is lowering the block down a level. If it still is uncomfortable and you have the belly drawn in and the block to another level, then you may need to put just a touch of bend back into your knees. And if you don't really feel a lot, know that you can always raise the block up a level. For me personally, my body, I like it kind of right at this middle level. Some people like to lower down more. Few people like to take their block up real high. Arms can go out to the side, on your belly, whatever feels good to you. This pose usually feels really good and releasing in the beginning, in the middle, and then towards the end, you'll notice the body wants to kind of get out of it. So this is where we're letting our mind settle, committing to the pose, making little adjustments, and if that means lowering your block down a level to still hold the pose, please go ahead and do that. Re-engaging the belly. You're almost there. About another 10 seconds. Start to bend your knees. Walk your feet back in to your bridge. All right, from here, we're going to move into a block-assisted shoulder stand. This is a great pose because it helps keep our neck safe while at the same time getting this nice inversion, and we have the legs and the heart higher than the head. So I like to start by gripping the edge of my mat, slowly raise each foot up towards the sky. As you're in this pose, you may find like, oh, my block is kind of wedging funny. You might need to lower down, readjust, and find your sweet spot. At the same time, know that you can always go to a higher or a lower position, whatever feels best for your body. For me on this one, I sometimes like to go up to my highest position to float. It gives me more of a lift. This pose is great because it helps to drain the legs. It brings blood flow back to the heart to be recirculated. It pulls lymph fluid out of the extremities, the legs, to be brought back to the body to be filtered and sent back out. This can have a really calm and restful effect on the mind. It helps to activate your parasympathetic nervous system, which is our rest and digest or rest and relax mode. If you need to at any time, you can kind of roll the ankles or wiggle the toes if it feels more comfortable for you. And if you want to play with any variations, you can open your legs out to the sides. You can move into Baddha Konasana. You can even do a little bit of rotating with the hips if that feels good. Whatever you'd like. Once again, make sure that you have some space between the teeth, that you feel more pressure in the back of your head rather than the back of your neck. And you have roughly 30 more seconds here. Go ahead and lower each foot carefully down. Lift up off of the block. Slide your block away. Gently release the spine down to the mat. Stay still here for a moment while we let the back body come to neutral. From here, if it feels good, you can now start to sway the knees a little bit left and right. Do any last bit of movement you might like to release before we set up for our Shavasana. When you're ready, grab any props that you'd like to use, either a blanket, your bolster, or just lay flat on your mat. That bolster can go, or a blanket underneath the knees if you'd like to give you some support, kind of around your calves. Let the legs splay out. You need any kind of, like a little bit of a towel or something, a neck roll under the neck, you can do that. I want you to draw the shoulders away from the neck. Open your arms out to the sides or rest your hands on your belly. Put some space between the legs. The eyes are closed. The mouth softens. Let the breath also soften and release. Continue to release and let go from the shoulders, down the arms, and out through the fingertips. You'll notice the breath becomes more shallow. The belly softens even more, the lower back. Release and let go from the hips, down the legs. to the calves and out through the toes. Commit to a little bit more stillness. Let the body become more heavy. Sinking into your mat, into a quiet, peaceful place for several minutes. Let the sounds of the chimes slowly draw you back to your body, to your breath, and to this day. As you're laying still, just begin to wiggle the fingers and the toes, reawakening the body, moving your energy around, and start to deepen your breath. From here, roll to your right side, staying in a fetal position, deepening the breath more, feeling the ribs expand out, feeling the belly expand out, feeling the mind awaken more, the thoughts as you draw in more oxygen. And now push up into a comfortable forward seated position, bringing your hands together at your heart, chin down and eyes closed. Today's quote comes from Eckhart Tolle. It is this: "Life will give you whatever experience is most helpful for the evolution of your consciousness. How do you know this is the experience you need? Because this is the experience you are having at this moment." Thank you for sharing today's Yin Yoga practice. Be well, and as always, the divine in me bows to the divine in you. Namaste. Thank you. Have a great week, and I will see you next time. Take care.